Fated mates are a thing, but I think fated friendships are a thing too.
Not best friends anymore, it's fated friends. Even though he was turned, he didn't lose himself.
Characters who are turned vampires have this internal struggle, losing who they were before they became a vampire.
And what is Rain's first thought when he sees her? Damn! She looks hot with all that nightfire around her.
Hi, and welcome to Romantasy Remedy. I'm Whitney.
And I'm Kenzie. We're sisters-in-law and book besties who thrive on daily doses of magic and romance from our favorite fantasy stories.
So, if your emotional support animal is a dragon and your therapist has shadow powers, you're in the right place. Thanks for being here and for liking, rating, and following our show. Before we get started, this is our official content warning. Simply put, Romantasy Remedy is a podcast for grown-ups. The topics and language will reflect that. Please listen at your comfort level.
And one more thing before we dive into The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent, our spoiler warning. For most of the episode, there will only be spoilers for the chapters 8 through 17, as well as the first two books in the series, The Serpent and the Wings of Night and Six Scorched Roses. But at the end of today's episode, we will have our Spoilers Central segment where we make connections to events later in the book and the entire Crowns of Nyaxia series. Don't worry, we'll give another big warning before Spoilers Central begins.
Thank you, Kenz. One of our goals here at Romantasy Remedy is to highlight how books in this genre can inspire readers. When we see characters facing fears, overcoming challenges, and growing into their potential, it inspires us to do the same. So each week, we'll choose a quote from the chapters we read to be an affirmation, a phrase to empower and motivate us. This week's affirmation says, I'm already laughing because I think it's kind of funny. This week's affirmation says, easy, Viper. We love this because we all have times when we need the reminder that we need to calm down before proceeding. I can't help but hear the Taylor Swift song in my head about calming down.
I need to calm down.
Yes, thank you, Taylor. Thank you. Our best choices usually do not come from moments of high stress or high emotion. When our emotional state is at Viper levels, we definitely should heed the advice to take it easy. We based this affirmation on words spoken by Rain. Keep listening to get all the details surrounding this amazing quote later in the episode. And don't forget, you can find a printable version of the affirmation in the show notes in case you want to stick it on your mirror or fridge or wherever. And with that, Kenzie is going to recap what happened in this week's section of chapters.
Yes. I'm going to print it off and tape it to my youngest daughter's forehead because she needs that all the time.
Put it on like the back of their shirt because they're driving you crazy. You have to tell yourself, easy, Viper.
Easy,
or
Viper.
Are you saying that your daughter needs it because she is a Viper level?
She
or
definitely
do you go back
is.
and forth?
We go back and forth. She starts it 100%, but yes, back and forth.
Easy, Viper.
Easy, Viper. All right. Recap. Here we go. Rain wakes up with a bad, things are going to get blown up kind of feeling. Septimus was acting sus the day before, and now Rain is guarding the armory with Vale and like 3 other Rishon. Turns out Rain was right because Jasmine rolls up with the Hiyaj troops, demons, and nightfire. Absolute chaos. Aurea busts out of the castle to join the fight, and here's a fun twist. She and Rain seem totally unable to kill each other. How incredibly romantic and inconvenient. Bloodborne reinforcements show up, and one overeager idiot shoots Aurea with an arrow. Rain loses it, drags her back to the castle, and makes sure his wife is fixed immediately. Once she's patched up, Rain brings her to a very serious meeting with Septimus, Kairos, and Vale. They've discovered Aurea's mirror communication device, and Septimus casually drops the bomb that Aurea can access things tied to Vincent's bloodline, including, potentially, god blood, which also coincidentally Septimus is hunting for because he thinks Vincent hid some spicy divine samples in the House of Night. When asked/demanded to help, Aurea says no. Rain says yes. Septimus tells them both to chill and think about it. Rain sneaks Araya out of the castle to his secret apartment in the human districts, his cozy little anti-king sanctuary, and he asks her to help him find the godblood and betray Septimus afterward. She agrees, but claims to still hate Rain. Back at the castle, Rain's thrilled to find Misha waiting for him. Same, honestly. We needed some Misha right now.
Totally.
Then Araya begins training again in the very place Vincent used to mentor her, and emotional damage is thick. She nearly murders a practice dummy, and when she and Rain spar, he taps out to avoid death by nightfire or feminine rage or both. Realizing Araya is approximately one broken feeling away from collapsing, Rain prescribes the only cure. Girls' night? What else?
Cures everything. Girls' night.
Every time. He officially makes Misha Araya's new bodyguard. Finally, Araya and Rain pack their emotional damage and book travel to the creepiest city in the House of Night, Vincent's hometown of Lahore. Septimus believes Vincent hid something there connected to the godblood, and nothing says road trip like secrets, trauma, and a mild betrayal.
Oh, man.
Lahore. I forgot about Lahore.
I know. We won't actually get to
won't get there.
discuss Lahore in this episode, but it's coming.
That's an episode, all right.
But we do get Misha and a lot of other good
Yes.
stuff in this episode. I'm
Yes.
very
all the
excited
good
about
things.
that. So we are in part 2, otherwise known as the New Moon section of the book. And it opens, of course, with an interlude about the night Rain was turned. And I loved learning about this. Hated that it happened to him, obviously.
Right.
Love Rain. But I just loved finally getting answers to some questions that I've had about him since meeting him in Serpent and the Wings of Night. So
Absolutely.
Here's what we know from this interlude. Rain was 32 years old when he was on a ship that was wrecked in a storm near Obi-Trace. And unlike the rest of the ship's crew, Rain makes it to the shore alive. And that is where Nekulai finds him and asks him this question, do you want to live? Rain begs for his help, and that's when Nekulai turns him.
Right.
Rain says in his POV, it makes him sick to think that he begged Nekulai to do this to him. I just am such a Carissa Brabant fangirl. She did such a great job of conveying all the bitterness that Rain has surrounding this experience, and as well as highlighting some aspects of his character that he had even back then, and we can still see now. For example, it mentioned that he had this determination to fight and a love for freedom, and I feel like we still see those things in Rain. So just a great job of her showing the bitterness about all that happened in this interlude, and also a little bit more about being turned.
For sure. And I like how you mentioned that, because I think it's interesting to point out, even though he was turned, he didn't lose himself. He hasn't lost himself and what he wants. And I'm excited to see with Lilith after her turn and how her journey goes with everything she did in Six Scorched Roses, how her vampireness self comes out. But I think that's an interesting thing to point out. So I'm glad you said that.
Oh, no. I feel like Rain would appreciate you pointing that out, because I think that any of the characters who are turned vampires, like Misha, I feel like also would appreciate hearing that, because they have this internal struggle, Misha especially, actually.
Yes.
Of losing who they were before they became a vampire. She made a special effort to convey some of those qualities that Rain still has, even now. So very cool, Carissa Bradman.
Very good.
Very cool.
Always so good at getting it in there.
Yes.
That's what she said. Just kidding. Please edit that out.
No, I'm gonna make a reel about it. Put Michael's face. I'll superimpose Michael's face on top of yours.
There you go. Perfect. All right. So after the interlude, we jump back to present day, and we're in Rain's POV. And he's at the armory with Vale on the outskirts of the city, because he has this hunch that something just isn't right, which Rain's gut instinct is always on point. And this will shock everyone. It's basically because Septimus was being really shady the day before. Shocker. They had actually planned to invade Misrata. Misrata.
Ms. Rada.
Misrata.
Miss Rada.
That
I don't know.
place. And Septimus up and canceled the Bloodborne's participation. So it's actually worth noting a couple things Rain shares about Septimus during this chapter. Like we said last time, we're on Septimus Watch because his book's coming out in August. So, couple points. Before talking about the change in battle plans, Rain reflects on a meeting he had with Septimus during the Kajari and how he somehow knew Rain was the Rishon heir. And Rain to this day still doesn't know how Septimus found out. Point two, Septimus knew he could use Araya against Rain, which is why he called her Nessanin at the Half Moon Ball in Serpent 3. Rain says that Septimus is dangerously desperate to get what he wants, but he doesn't know what that is exactly, which is always scary. Then when Vale is pissed about Septimus canceling the Misrata invasion, he insults Septimus's general, and Rain notes that Septimus doesn't care if you insult him, but he doesn't allow his people working under him to be insulted, which I think goes to your theory. For real. And Rain also mentions that if the Bloodborne weren't hobbled by their curse and shortened lifespans, they'd take over Obitrace. And then the last point is the kind of love that last observation from Rain. He isn't a fan of Septimus or the Bloodborne in general, but he sees their strength. There's a lesson there, right? Seeing someone's strengths, even when we don't agree or just frankly don't like that person, we can still recognizing strength. So why is that? The more we know about Septimus, the more mysterious he is. I don't know, but it just keeps happening.
It's true. Rain shares all these things that he knows about Septimus, and it's almost as if by the end we're even more confused about Septimus.
There's always more questions.
Basically, Rain tells us he is shady as hell, but also really loyal to his people.
Right.
And has some inner strength that other vampires do not possess.
It's like he clearly doesn't trust him, but he obviously trusts him to a certain extent. In a weird way.
Which, yeah.
Yep.
Dare I say that Septimus is very morally gray. And you mentioned my theory, which I probably can't get too much into, except to say that I think we will feel about Septimus the way that many of us feel about a certain ruler of a certain night court. So I'm just...
Later date talk.
Yes, to be continued.
We'll see in August.
Yep, to be continued. Oh, but we do all love a mysterious man. At any rate, Septimus messes up this whole plan to invade Misrata, and so the Rishon stay at the armory, and Rain decides that he also will stay there because he has this bad feeling that something is going to happen. And of course, we know that something bad indeed does happen because Jasmine shows up with all of her Hiaj soldiers because Araya told them to do that.
Right.
And before we get into that, what do you make of Rain's intuition here? Is it because he's the Rishon king? Is it some kind of like connection he has to Araya? Like he just knew she was planning something? Or is he just has really good gut instincts?
You know, it makes me think of some later books and some things with that we can discuss in spoiler central a little bit. So I think he has good instincts, right? He's made it this far as a turned vampire, mudblood, whatever. And so I feel like he's got to have some good instincts, but I also think there has to be some sort of like mate connection with Araya, right? So a little bit of both.
Okay. I like that.
That's
I
my
can get
guess.
behind that. Whatever it is, Jasmine and her soldiers do attack, and she makes the attack mirror the one on the Moon Palace in Serpent and the Wings of Night. So
Yes.
she includes demons and nightfire. And Araya makes a comment about this. She says, you have to admire Jasmine's commitment to pettiness, which made me laugh out loud because we can relate to that. Let's be real. We've all had
Yeah.
moments where we are petty little brats and we are very committed to being petty. And so Jasmine
It's
just
an
takes
art
it to
form.
yeah, she really makes it an art form here, takes it to a whole nother level. And things are basically a bloodbath at the armory. Without the Bloodborne there, the Hiyaj and Rishon troops are evenly matched, like 1-to-1. So Araya is watching these initial explosions from the castle and decides that she's going to break out and join the fight. Girlfriend has to knock out a guard to make that happen. So
Right.
she knocks him out, steals a horse, and is cutting through the human districts to get to the armory. And who does she run into? Surprise, surprise. Septimus. Septimus Watch. Here we are. And to make things even more shady and mysterious, he's all, hey, you should go this way because that way's blocked. What
It's
in
like
the world?
he knew what was going to happen too.
What?
Like he's
Yes,
oh,
yes.
so
Like, so many questions. What in the world? Why is he helping her? Okay, we're supposed to have these questions. We're supposed to. She doesn't dwell on it long because she is just booking it to the armory, and she finds the Hiyaj and Rishon locked in battle, and she immediately jumps into the fray. And of course, she runs into Rain. First thing.
Of course. Why not? Why would it be anybody else, right?
Yeah.
And
No.
what is Rain's first thought when he sees her? Traitor. How'd she get out? Nope. More along the lines of, damn. Damn. She looks hot with all that night fire around her. So on brand for Rain and Araya.
It's true. It's true.
Oh, those two. They
Reminds me
start
of last book when she's like, oh, I didn't appreciate how hot he is until he was trying to kill me.
I forgot about that, though. It's so true. It's so true. Here we are again. What else? So, like I said, on brand. And then they start fighting. And Jasmine comes swooping in to take out Rain. But Araya orders her to stand down. When Jasmine hesitates, Rain knocks her out. So, sounds about right.
Really winning points with Araya here.
Right. Sounds about right. So then he and Araya resume fighting, and he mentions that it was like stepping into a well-practiced dance because during the Kajari, they sparred with each other. So they probably are pretty intimately aware of how the other fights, right?
Yeah, I mean, not just from fighting against each other, but from training together to be
Yes.
allies and from fighting together in the human districts when they would go and
That's
kill
right.
vampires together.
That's
so
right.
they
Forgot
are
about that.
very, very good at fighting each other.
Right. Right. And there's actually a moment where he actually comments on how good Araya is and how he admires her. And clearly this man is still wildly in love, which he should be. But he also observes in that they're both holding back. And so we've known all along that Rain doesn't want to kill Araya, but this chapter is the first time we get a sense that maybe Araya doesn't want to kill Rain or doesn't hate Rain as much as she pretends to. Because she tells Jasmine not to kill him, to stand down. Jasmine totally could have. And then she has a chance to actually kill him herself. And Rain even asks her, just like he did in Serpent, are you going to kill me, princess? So funny. I love how Carissa brings back those things. It's so fun.
Why do I get so giddy every time he says that, though? Are you going to kill me, princess?
Anytime kill me, princess.
Or there she is, there he
Yes.
is. Anytime these phrases come back, it just makes me so happy.
Are those your swoons?
I know. I'm already swooning. It's not even a spicy scene, and they're pretending to hate each other. So
Right.
whatever. Carissa is just a good writer, and I can't take it. It's fine.
So Rain asks her that, and then Araya doesn't actually get to answer this time because at this point, Bloodborne reinforcements have arrived, and one of them shoots an arrow into Araya.
Yeah, they've arrived because they were just chilling in the human districts with Septimus, waiting for things to get juicy, and then they just saunter in with cigarillos to join the fight, I guess. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. Well, actually, it's not fine because one of them shot Araya, like you just said.
Right.
Sounds very painful. And she's able to hold consciousness long enough to communicate to Jasmine to kind of retreat and leave her there.
Right.
And Jasmine really doesn't want to leave Araya there, but she does. And when Araya wakes up, she's back in her room in the castle, and Rain is there dressing her wound. So that's fun. And they didn't let her die, despite the strong suspicion that she probably orchestrated the attack on the armory in the first place, which is very
Right.
curious. And Rain and Araya basically ask each other, why didn't you kill me? You know, they both kind of take turns asking the same question. And in this moment, Vincent's voice pipes into the conversation in Araya's mind, and he goes, good question, little serpent. I should probably also mention that earlier, when all of these events were taking place, Araya heard Vincent's voice, and it's when she was asking the guard next to her bedroom basically to let her leave the room so
Right.
she could go to the armory. And Vincent told her to remember who you are, which is very Mufasa-like of him, very
I love
Lion
that.
King.
Yes.
It's such a great movie and a great phrase,
Sure.
a great affirmation.
remember who you are.
who you are. And anyway, after Vincent says that, it gives Araya the motivation to kind of knock the dude out. And I wanted to read what she says there
Yes.
because it is pretty awesome. She goes, what the hell was I doing? Asking this boy for permission to leave? Letting him think he could guard me? I'd won the goddess damned Kajari. I'd won battles against vampire warriors twice my size and 10 times my age. I was the daughter of Vincent of the Nightborn, the greatest king to rule the House of Night, and I was his rightful heir, and I was better than this. I think we all have moments like that where it's kind of like a wake-up call, right? Where we realize we are not living to be our best selves. We're kind of living below our potential, and we need to step it up. So in this instance, we can be grateful for Vincent's voice because he empowered Araya. And we kind of touched on this in the last episode. That's one thing that's very different with Vincent's voice in Araya's
Yes.
mind in this book versus in Serpent. In Serpent, it always sounded like it was putting her down. But
For
here,
sure.
we've seen it several times where it's empowered her and lifted her up. So, really cool. Ideally, we want our own voices to do that, but great that Vincent's voice did it in this
Sure.
particular instance.
I love how he's just the remember who you are, because I think too in Serpent it was so much like, I'm a little human. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm lesser than. And so the fact that his voice is the one saying like, remember who you are, full circle. So good. Love it.
Yes, I think that Afterlife Vincent is wiser than
Agreed.
Nightborn King Vincent.
Death did him many good
I mean,
things.
rest in peace,
Right.
Vincent. But anyway, back to Araya and Rain being unwilling to kill each other and having a conversation about it. What happens next is Rain tells her that they have some things to talk about. So fun. And he comes back to get her a few hours later, and they go to another room where Septimus, Vale, and Kyrus, Araya's 3 favorite people, are all waiting. And Septimus has something very interesting.
Freaking Septimus. It's like, I want to say, oh, Septimus. Well, freaking Septimus sometimes, right?
What
is
book is it? Oh, there's a book. Maybe it's this one. I don't know. Recently, I read something where they said something like, you can't hate something without loving it just a little bit. And that's what I'm thinking about with Septimus. Like, you can't hate something without loving it just, oh, it might be Quicksilver. I think it's Quicksilver.
Okay. That would be fitting
Anyway.
for you right now.
Yes. We are all waiting for Brimstone, so we have listened to lots and read lots of Quicksilver lately. And I think there's a part where Saris says that. She says, you can't hate something without loving it just a little bit.
I think that's actually fitting for like several characters. Vincent too, in a different kind of way.
True. Good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Septimus has something interesting. A pile of broken glass shards, which is Vincent's communication device, the one Araya had been using to talk to Jasmine. And it becomes clear very quickly that Septimus knows exactly what Araya used it for. And Araya seems to think that he orchestrated her finding it, which would not be surprising. So, like, in other words, Septimus made sure not all the locks on her door were used. which we talked about, and made sure the study with the communication device was open for her. And I'm wondering if he even listened to Araya's conversation with Jasmine somehow, which is why he knew not to invade Misrata. And also, he totally throws in every bet I've placed on you has been a winning one, Dove. I don't like it right now with Dove. Gets you every time. So we all love the Dove thing right now, right?
Yeah, like I know we were on the fence about it in Serpent, but I think we can just say we like it.
Melt a little bit. Like,
Let's
just
I'm a
call me
fan.
Dove.
Fine.
So Septimus then explains that most children can't use something like this that was made for their parent. So it's unusual that Araya can in this instance. So he then goes on more that he's been looking for remnants of the former god of the underworld, Alaris. And if you remember, Alaris was married to Nyaxia, and since the other gods of the White Pantheon disapproved their marriage, they killed Alaris. And Septimus has said that he found the teeth in the House of Blood and suspects that some of Alaris's blood is hidden in the House of Night. Septimus says they need Araya to help them find it and access it since Vincent surely put safeguards on it. Well,
Surely.
Like, so let's go ahead and go on
When
that
I first
adventure.
Well, I was gonna say when I first read this, I'm like, you have teeth?
Why? Where?
How many Alaris body parts are
Like, just
hiding
floating
around
around?
Obi Trace?
Right.
Teeth. Okay.
For sure. I think reading, what was that, Six Scorched Roses too, gives you a good kind of idea of what's going on with this White Pantheon and some of the characteristics of those gods. And so, like, to think that they're now looking for this stuff with the gods is like, that's a chore, girlfriend. I don't think you want to do that.
Yes. For
So
real, though.
Septimus wants Array to help, and she, of course, refuses. And Rain tells her that she has to. So Septimus says everyone should calm down, and they'll talk about it soon. So devious.
Seriously.
I feel like that's the best word for him. He's just devious.
Whose side are you on, man? Whose side are you on?
He confuses everyone so that they just agree with what he says.
Probably. He is definitely a schemer.
Yes.
And yeah, that's all I'm going to say right now. Okay. The rest will be said in Spoiler Central.
Yeah, there you go.
A few hours before dawn, Rain shows up at Araya's door, and he does a few very unexpected things. So first he hands her a cloak and basically says we're going to fly somewhere. And they're both kind of, I just remember reading, both of them mention how it's like comfortable but uncomfortable, the flying, because it's uncomfortable because it's so comfortable. Like she's so comfortable putting her arms around his neck and he's so comfortable holding her, but that makes them uncomfortable. Anyway, I hope that made sense. It was a little...
No, it does make sense with their conundrum.
Yes, absolutely. And before they take off, Rain, of course, asks, "May I?" before touching her because he's a gentleman. And then he delivers his classic line of, "You're safe." So Rain Train is back.
Love Rain.
I do too. This is when we're all 100% back in love with Rain because how could you not be? And this is probably also when we start getting really annoyed with Araya. Not quite the level that you're annoyed with Violet and Iron Flame, but
this
pretty
is
annoyed.
True, but pretty annoyed, yes. I was actually speaking to my friend who's reading this book right now, and she's like, I'm so annoyed. I was like, oh, girl, I know. It gets better, though. Don't worry.
It will be okay. Just keep going. So they fly to the human districts. And when they land, Rain gives Araya her blades back, like her blades that are made from Nightborn steel. And that's a big deal. He does say that there's no poison in them, just as a precaution, which is funny. And then he takes her to this apartment that apparently he's been coming to just escape the castle when he can't take king life anymore. He goes to this random grungy apartment in the human districts. And as if that's not enough, Rain then gives Araya Vincent's sword, which is called the Taker of Hearts. And the sword is famous. It is rumored to be God-forged. It's incredibly powerful. And Araya doesn't think that she can wield it, but Rain feels otherwise, since she was able to use the communication mirror that
Right.
supposedly only Vincent could use, he thinks that she probably could use his sword as well. So, anyway, Rain is being incredibly vulnerable here. He's showing Araya his sanctuary. He is giving her a sword, a god forged, really powerful sword. And then he
Right.
goes even further by asking for Araya's help to betray Septimus and offers her freedom once that's done.
Yes.
So, again, are we in love with Rain again? The answer is yes, we are,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I was never not in love with Rain.
Yeah, I know. Same.
Okay, but he's actually so funny during this scene when he first starts explaining his plan. Array is about to argue, and Rain goes, "Easy, Viper, let me finish." So there's our affirmation, "Easy, Viper." And that's awesome. It's funny, but so helpful because when life gets crazy, we need a quick reminder to calm down, slow down, take it easy. We just don't show up as our best selves when emotion and stress is high. So the next time you feel the panic rising, just take a deep breath and muff for a quick easy Viper before continuing. Oh, I think I'm gonna tell that to my husband. I always tell him like, "You're the shoot now, ask questions later," kind of like thing.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be like, "Easy Viper, easy
Easy
Viper."
Viper. Easy Viper. I
Anything
love
you want to
that.
add?
There were a few phrases in this chunk of chapters that would have been great affirmations. I picked this one because I thought it was so memorable and kind of
Yes.
funny, but also really helpful because this is a very human thing to do. We all do this. We all have moments where our feelings kind of run away with us and clouds our judgment. And I remember, so fun fact about Whitney's life, I used to be a teacher a long, long time ago before I started having kids. And I remember someone giving me advice when I was a brand new teacher saying if you get an email from a parent, for example, that they're not happy about something, wait 24 hours before you respond so that when you respond, you are doing it not from a really emotional place, like you're
Right.
calm. And I think that's kind of what this is getting at. Sometimes our emotions are so high that we make decisions that are not decisions we would make otherwise.
Right.
So, Easy Viper is a
Easy
funny way to
Viper.
say, calm down. Don't let your
Yeah.
emotions run the show. You are
Yes.
in charge here, like not your feelings. So,
What great
Easy
advice
Viper.
to get as a
Yes.
new teacher. I think that's like the write a letter or write a text and then delete it kind of a
Yeah.
things like get it out, delete it, and then go back.
Yes.
So what great
Absolutely.
advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I am definitely guilty of this. Sometimes I feel like I have to talk something to death and like work it out right then. But one lesson I've learned through marriage is that it's very beneficial sometimes to press pause, and then
Pause.
come back a little bit later when we are not at Viper levels and
Yeah.
talk about it then.
Did you ever get that advice when you were first married, like, don't go to bed angry?
Yes,
I always like put an asterisk next to that. It's like, yes, don't go to bed angry, but it's okay to agree to just put it on pause, sleep on it. You're not going
totally.
to sometimes that is an okay thing to do.
Yes, I agree. Sure, when possible, don't go to bed angry, but it's okay to go to bed angry and then talk about it the next morning and
It
resolve
might
it
be
when you're
more
not.
productive in the morning.
Yes, yes, I completely agree. I
Yes,
don't think that advice always applies. So glad
agreed.
I'm not the only one out there.
Yes.
Love
Oh,
that. Easy Viper. Easy
easy Viper,
Viper.
it's great. So then after he says, "Easy Viper, let me finish," he gives Araya his word that she can do whatever she wants once they accomplish this task. And Araya asks what his word is even worth. And he actually says, "Not much. It's seen better days, a little banged up, but it's all I have to offer, unfortunately." I love that. That just like brutal honesty is like, not much, but that's what I've
He's
got.
I know. I just appreciate that he has not lost his sense of humor in all of
No,
this.
no,
So great.
it's so good to see him joking like this because until now, he's either been very sad and worried about Araya or very mean as a new king trying to he's acting almost as that. And it's so funny and selfless. Rain is the one we have all loved and serpent when we get those moments from him. And I like that. Araya, though, keeps trying to convince herself that she hates him and it's not
You keep
working.
trying, girl. Keep
Yeah,
trying.
keep trying. You know it's not going to happen. And Rain is actually hurt by this, but says it's for the best because, in his own words, you aren't much of an actress. He extended his hand, but he added softly, seriously, you are one hell of an ally. And I love that. So good,
So good.
especially with their Kajari becoming allies in that. So
Yes.
I love this characterization of Aurea. She really isn't a very good actress. We've seen that over and over again. And her face always gives her true feelings away. It's like, has anyone ever told you you have a neon sign on your forehead that's telling us everything? I feel like Aurea is one of those people.
Totally. Or there's a lot of funny reels or memes where it's that one friend whose face always says what they're thinking and you have to tell them to
Yes.
correct their face.
Yes. Yes.
Or if my mouth doesn't say it, my face will. So Araya is one of
Yes.
those people for sure.
For
Vincent
sure.
always got onto her about it. She always could hear him saying, not fix your face, but the
Fix your face, Aurea.
Vincent way, basically, of saying to control your emotions.
Yes.
Those human emotions are coming out. But
No, it's
yeah.
true. And yeah, so funny. I love it. And one thing though is once she's on your team, once she's your ally, she's in. So you can know that she will be there for you at all costs. And I admire that about Aurea. And I appreciate that Rain sees that in her. Back to there she is, and there he is.
Yes.
They see each other's true selves deep down.
Yes. And that was
So-
actually one phrase I considered making the affirmation where he says, you are one hell of an ally. Just from this, I guess in my mind, I was thinking it could motivate us to be that kind of ally for others or for ourselves. You are one hell of an ally. It was a little long and Easy Viper was too funny to pass up, but I still really like this comment or this phrase
Yeah.
from Rain. I think it's a good one.
I agree. So Aurea does indeed agree to help, but also demands that Rain stop locking her door, which I don't blame her. Who wants to be locked
that's
in the room?
fair. Also, kind of futile at this point because she's Nightfire. Again, just
She's got out
small
once, she'll be-
detail. The locks don't do anything. It's
Right.
fine, though. After they return to the castle and go their separate ways, Rain finds out that he has a visitor. I'm so
Woo-hoo.
excited. Everyone's favorite bubbly, girly vampire is back, Misha. And it's adorable how Rain is so happy to see her. Here's what he says. There were two people alive right now who I felt, for better or for worse, really knew me, Aurea and Misha. When Aurea looked at me, it was all accusation. I see what you really are. But when Misha looked at me, it was affection. I just love their friendship. It is so pure and so
It is.
wonderful.
And
It's
he
the
needs
best.
that friendship. She needs that
Yes.
friendship. They're so good for each other. I love it.
He really needs it right now because his
Yes.
whole life right now is putting on this act of being the Nightborn King.
Yes.
And it probably felt so good for his friend to show up. He pretends he's mad at her because it's dangerous, whatever. But really, he is just so relieved that someone is there who just
Yes.
knows him. And that really is the best when you have people in your life who really know you and love the real you. And I
Agreed.
think we all have times where we feel like Rain and we feel kind of obligated to act a certain way in certain environments. And it's truly such a relief to be around someone where you can just be 100% your weird, authentic self and
Right.
they love you for it. So
Yes. Agreed.
thank you, Misha. Yay.
Always a
His,
Misha.
I know. Rain's internal monologue during this chapter gives us a peek at how he and Misha ended up in the Kajari in the first place. I don't know if we ever got the full story in Serpent, but it
No.
definitely shows up here. Basically, Rain at one point told Misha that he was the Rishon heir, and Misha thought that he should claim the throne and change Obi Trace, and I don't blame her. He's a great guy. He's a good candidate for that job. At the time, though, that's not the headspace that Rain was in. And so what does Misha do? She runs off and she joins the Kajari, knowing full well that Rain will not allow her to do it alone without him. So she's a manipulative little thing.
Right. Love her. Definitely manipulative.
Definitely. Definitely manipulative. After Misha's return, the next chapter switches to Araya's point of view, and she's on her way to begin some training with Rain. That's part of the deal of working to find the Godblood. She is going to train with Rain. So she's on her way. Side note, this is the first time in her entire life that she has been able to freely walk the corridors of the Nightborn castle. Like, not she snuck out of her room and walked the corridors, but
Right.
like she's just allowed to do it because Vincent basically always told her she wasn't allowed to by herself, not
Right.
without
That's
him.
true. Yeah.
And so this, just kind of amplifies the complicated feelings we have about Vincent and her grieving Vincent. But anyway, on her way, she runs into Septimus Watch activated, and during their brief interaction, he goes to pull out a cigarillo, and he has this moment where his body basically freezes up, like he's not in control of it.
Right.
And it passes. It's not super long, and he kind of just pretend that nothing happened. So I was curious what you made of that. Do you think, because he's been scheming so much and
Right.
doing things very intentionally, do you think, first of all, that was from the blood curse? And second of
Right.
all, do you think he kind of wanted Araya to see that? Like, he knew, I'm going to be due for another cigarillo. I'm going to make sure I run into Araya so she can see what the blood curse does to me. I don't know, maybe to make her more sympathetic to
Right.
their cause. I don't know. What do you think?
It's
What
an
do you make of
interesting
it?
thought. It's an interesting thought because I feel like everything that he does is so calculated and thought out and
Hmm.
planned that it would be odd for him to put himself in such a vulnerable position to let her see that without it being planned. But then part of me is like, I don't think he wants people to see that vulnerability either. So why would he show it to Araya? So I don't know. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
maybe we'll find out someday.
Yeah,
Maybe. I
maybe.
don't know when.
Right. Araya, of course, doesn't bring it up again. And next thing we know, she's pretty much having an emotional breakdown in the training ring. That's a good place to get an emotional breakdown out. But being there reminded her of Vincent and how he's been gone an entire month already. Like all that time's passed. And she remembered how he trained her because everything was dangerous since she was a human, except he lied to her and never told her that she was half vampire. And so, needless to say, Araya was beating the shit out of the practice dummy when Rain showed up, and he goes, "Didn't realize just how lucky I am to be alive until I saw that." This man and his humor. I can't.
Okay, so this reminded me, though, of the scene in A Court of Mist and Fury when Feyre is in the training ring with Cassian. And he's
Huh?
like, oh, so what are we going to talk about that you... Sorry, spoiler for A Court of Mist and Fury, I guess. Hopefully
Side
y'all
note.
read that. And he's like, when are we going to talk about that you told Tamlin you're never coming back to the Spring Court? And
Yeah.
then he tells her to start like punching, and he's got his hands up or the glove. I don't know what he has on, but she like punches through the fabric basically, and it's
Right.
just like burning through his skin at that point. But I totally thought of that here because it's the same kind of rage fueled, emotion fueled punching.
Great
But
workout.
yes, exactly.
No, it's true. I didn't think about that, but that's exactly
Hmm.
what it's like. So, Rain,
Though if there was a fight between Araya and Feyre, my money's definitely on Araya.
hands down.
I
She's much
mean,
more scrappy. Except like Feyre had to be scrappy to live. Are we gonna
that's
go down
true.
this rabbit hole? Sidetrack. Feyre had to be scrappy, but I think she's scrappy in a different way. Where I feel like
Yeah.
Araya is a little more like cutthroat than
I guess we need
Feyre.
to be specific. Are we talking about like Akamath Feyre, or are we talking about like Court of Silver Flames Feyre when she's had her powers a minute and can actually wield them confidently?
For another day, right?
Yeah, I'll have to put a pin in that.
Put a pin in that.
Hmm.
But then it makes me think of when she was a human. She was pretty scrappy.
It's
Okay,
true.
another
True.
time. Another time.
Vampire versus Fae. Oh, you know what series is going to
Oh,
help with
that's
that
a
debate is Quicksilver and Brimstone.
oh, that's
So
right.
something
Okay.
for you to look forward to, Kenzie.
It's coming. I'm getting there.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you to meet those characters,
I'm excited
specifically
too.
Kingfisher and Carrion Swift.
I'm so excited. I'm
And
ready. I've
Onyx
heard
the
so much.
fox.
Okay, yes, especially after you got Onyx. I'm like, "Ugh, I love an emotional support animal. I need to meet Onyx. I'm more
Yeah,
excited about
who
that than anything."
doesn't? Loose, Onyx, they're all great.
Yes, Loose. Okay, we'll talk about Loose later.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Sorry. Keep
All right.
derailing us from this
No,
conversation.
you're great. So, of course, Frank comes in with his humor, and Araya is not having it. And they do end up sparring. And of course, that brings up all kinds of uncomfortable feelings for them again because it feels so comfortable to fight with Rain. It's
We're
very
back
on
to this.
back
Uncomfortable
and
because
forth,
it's
back and forth.
comfortable.
Why we find her so annoying in these chapters, but very on
Yes.
brand for Araya. She's uncomfortable because something feels comfortable, which is uncomfortable to be comfortable.
Yeah, remember in Serpent how she like could not handle when Misha and Rain were nice to her? She
That's right. Yeah.
could not deal with positive emotion. So we're kind of regressing back to that, but that's
We're
okay.
working through some emotional damage.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay,
But
Araya. We got you.
right. By the end of their sparring session, Rain asks Araya if she's really thought about what it means that she's half vampire and air. And Araya says this meant I no longer knew anything about myself, my magic, my lifespan, my blood, the limits of my own flesh. It meant that my entire life had been a lie. I feel for her when she expresses it that way because how crazy would that be? I
My gosh. Yeah.
right? So good thing the best gal pal and Obitrays landed the job of being Araya's new bodyguard. So happy Misha's back. And Rain is so smart because Araya needs a friend who isn't him. And who better than Misha? Who better?
There's
No
no one
one.
better.
No one. And so the new moon section wraps up with Rain asking Araya about a place called Lahore. Lahore was Vincent's hometown, and it is basically a pile of ruins now. But Septimus thinks Vincent hid something there and will help with their quest for the Godblood. So Rain and Araya get to go on a creepy little field trip to Lahore, and we'll talk about that next time.
And it really is so creepy.
It is so creepy. Like
of all the things I've read in this series, I think the chapters in the horror are the creepiest ones.
No, for sure. Like I've never been like a horror reader. I've read some like thrillers and things like that, but this is just straight up goosebump creepy. Like
can't wait to
I
chat
have
more
a
about
visceral
that.
reaction. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, and that's where we end our exploration of The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent for today. One of the best parts of reading is learning things that help us with this messy adventure we call life. Each episode, we're going to try to share a true story that connects to lessons learned in the chapters we read. So, when we were talking about how Misha comes in and sees the real Rain and just loves him for who he is, no act necessary, I was thinking back and I feel very fortunate that I have had friends like this. I feel almost strategically placed when I needed them. And I remembered specifically a friend I met when I was in college. And my first couple years of college were good, but definitely there was some struggle happening. I was very far away from where I grew up. It was a very different environment and vibe from where I grew up. And I felt like I just did not belong. I felt like I couldn't be my authentic self a lot of the time. And I met a friend, and this is kind of a hilarious story because I was struggling so much. My mom was kind of trying to set me up on friend dates, okay? And so
Friend dates, that's kind of cute.
and kind of like I was a elementary child again. And she will say, we'll change some names here, but my mom's like, I have this friend, we'll call her Jane, and she has a niece who lives in the same town as you. She's also going to college there, and I think you guys would get along great. And I was like, oh, okay, Mom, you just put me on this like pity date with this stranger. No, thank you. So then I sign up for a class. It was actually an ASL class that I kind of randomly took one semester, and I met this girl who was really fun and we clicked right away. We started out studying for tests and then we just hung out because we just really got along well. And I felt like I could be myself around her. Come to find out, it was that girl. It was her friend Jane's niece, who I could have met months sooner if I had just listened to my mom. So there's the first lesson of the story.
What is that? Mothers know best.
Just listen to your mom sometimes. My mom's going to love hearing that when she listens to this episode.
Is Marge listening?
She is listening. She is a devoted fan of Romantasy Remedy,
Yeah.
so I know she's listening. Thanks, Mom. And anyway, so we'll call this friend Mary. Mary became one of my dearest friends during those college years. And I could come to her with any problem, any crazy idea, any like weirdness that was me. And she never made me feel weird or bad about it. I felt totally loved by her. And that was something that I really needed at that point in my life, kind of like Rain really needed Misha at this point in these chapters. She was a really important friend for me during that part of my life.
I love that.
Mary, hopefully you know who you are, even though I changed your name because I didn't talk to you before I shared that story. Mom, thanks, Mom. I know you don't mind.
Sorry,
You can love
I
me.
dropped your mom. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. She should be proud to be mentioned on Romantasy Remedy.
Shout out. Shout out.
I think she's commented on publicly too, so I mean,
Okay.
it's not secret.
It's well known.
It's voluntary at this point. Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it funny? I think that's awesome. And I think you're right, like how those people are strategically placed in our lives without us knowing it. And it's so funny that your mom was trying before. And that's
Yes.
that's
It made it feel, in the romantasy realm of things, very fated, right? I know fated mates are a thing, but I think fated friendships are a thing too. And so
100%.
It felt like a fated friendship, and there have been other fated friendships. I think you are a fated friendship. So
Yes,
because of your fated mate, I suppose we are fated friendship. But yes, it's so cool when the stars align that way and you just know that you were supposed to connect with someone and you needed to connect with them, or maybe they needed you. It feels amazing.
I agreed. And there's something to be said about, like, I think there's good friends, always good friends, but when you just click with someone, you just know it right away. For sure.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, absolutely.
I've been not best friends anymore. It's fated friends.
Fated friends. We're going to have to get some like BFF necklaces that say fated friends.
I like it. FF, fated friends. We'll just change it from BFF, from like best friends forever, like best fated friends, like something
fated
silly like that.
I love that so much.
So funny. Well, before we go, let's take a moment to express our gratitude to a character who we admire from this stretch of chapters. And today's note is for Misha, our fated friend. So here it goes. Dear Misha, thank you for being the kind of friend who doesn't just check in. You sprint toward the castle that happens to be the epicenter of a civil war. No hesitation, no dramatic sighing, just, okay, who needs stabbing and who needs support? You weren't scared off by the tension crackling between Rain and Araya. You didn't pick sides. You showed up for both of them with loyalty, grit, and that signature Misha confidence that says, I brought snacks, weapons, and emotional clarity. Let's go. Love her. You're the steady hand in the chaos, the friend who makes impossible moments survivable, and the person everyone should be lucky enough to have in their corner. So from your friends at Romantasy Remedy, Misha, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Misha. And thanks for reading that, because I don't think we really talked about that aspect of Misha showing up, but you mentioned she didn't pick sides, that she showed up for both Rain and Araya.
Yes.
And that is really cool. I mean, obviously she and Rain have been friends much longer.
Right.
But she and Araya had this big connection, I feel like, during the Kajari. And so I love that she still wants to be there for Araya too.
Right. Oh,
so
yeah.
Cool.
She's the best. Everyone needs a Misha. A Misha.
Our favorite fated friend.
It's true.
Goodness. Well, we have reached the end of the main portion of our episode. Thank you so much for listening. Look for Romantasy Remedy on Instagram and TikTok. Check the show notes for those links, as well as links to the printable affirmation and soundtrack playlist on Spotify.
We're really looking forward to connecting with you and nerding out over all the best romantasy. After this, we'll begin the spoiler central segment of the episode, which you shouldn't listen to if you haven't finished the entire series, including the rest of this book. We're totally those book besties where one of us reads at a normal speed and one of us reads faster than you can winnow from here to Valaris. Since Whitney is the speed reader, I'm going to duck out while she does spoiler central.
All right, you've been warned. Here come the spoilers. I am very excited about Spoiler Central today because there are so many things coming up that connect to things later in this book, later in the series, and it's really fun to make these connections. So, first, Rain makes a comment that the Bloodborne are often underestimated and that they have the potential to take over Obi-Trace and possibly the world. That is a big statement, and I wonder if it's foreshadowing for Septimus's quest to kill the gods in his book that will come out in August. So we know at the end of The Fall and the Kiss of Dusk, Septimus is a big part of that epilogue, and he is scheming at the end of Fallen. There's this big war happening, and we know from things that Carissa has shared on her website, teasers from Septimus's book, that it is going to be about him basically trying to kill the gods. So I feel like this little comment from Rain about how the Bloodborne could take over the world connects to that. I mean, how can it not? So excited to find out when that book is finally here in the world for us to read. Let's go to the next one. So Araya, when she is breaking out of her bedroom to go join the fight in the armory, actually, at this point, she's already broken out and she is stealing a horse. And as she's trying to get this horse thing figured out, she goes, I'd have given anything in this moment for wings, which is so cool because later in the book, she does end up having her own wings. So don't worry, Araya, your time's coming. You'll get those wings. Okay, then fast forward to when Septimus is meeting with Araya and Rain and Kyrus and Vale, and he's talking to Araya about this god blood business for the first time. He says, we all know that any being that dies leaves something behind. Bones, blood, magic, offspring. Septimus gave me a knowing half smile, and that goes for gods too. As what we leave behind holds some of our power, so too do a god's remains. So, he's talking about the god blood and the god teeth and how it holds power. But I noticed on this read that he used the word offspring. And, I think in this context, it could very well just be referencing like Araya being Vincent's offspring and how she has some of his power. But I also immediately thought of Asar and how we find that big twist at the end of The Songbird and the Heart of Stone of him being descended from Alaris. So I wonder too if he was referencing that because Septimus just seems to know things, but I don't know. But that's what I thought of was Asar being a descendant of the god Alaris. Okay, also, same conversation. Septimus says, I think Alaris is much more than a corpse by now. I think his remains, whatever they are, have spread throughout Obi-Trace. So again, this made my mind go back to Asar and Misha, or I guess go forward rather to Asar and Misha when they are looking for Alaris's heart in The Fall and the Kiss of Dusk. So Septimus is not wrong here. There definitely are remains of Alaris throughout Obi-Trace. Then Araya kind of has a world building moment. She says this. This is actually, I think, also part of that same conversation. The topic of seers come up. And so Araya is talking about that. With Nyaxia's capabilities, they had to work with humans who followed other gods, usually Acacia, the goddess of the unknown, and the only god of the White Pantheon to have a somewhat civil relationship with Nyaxia. Some Obi-trained kings through the years kept pet seers, whether of Acacia or some other god. Of course, I couldn't read that without thinking of Selena in the Archesin and slaying the vampire conqueror. Definitely you think about her and how Atreus kind of, I wouldn't say a pet seer, but definitely needed or wanted a seer to be in his circle, so to speak. And apparently Vincent was that way too. Seers are a thing. But yes, I cannot see the word seer or Acacia without thinking of Selena and the Archesin. And then the last thing I wanted to mention in Spoiler Central today is Rain, when he's reuniting with Misha, he makes a comment saying he had always wondered if Misha had some kind of mind magic because her ability to empathize with others was uncanny. So this is a passing comment, but once you continue reading the series and you've read The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, Fall and the Kiss of Dusk, you realize Yeah, Misha does have mind magic because she's Shadowborn. So she has the Shadowborn magic. I do think she is just a wildly empathetic person, but she does actually have some mind magic. So Rain knew it. Rain knew it. Smart man. And that's all I have for Spoiler Central today. Again, I'm looking forward to how Spoiler Central continues to progress and unfold in this book because there's just a lot of moving pieces that are about to come in the Crowns of Nyaxia, and it's so fun to watch them all connect. But thank you so much for listening to Romantasy Remedy, and we are looking forward to our next episode as we continue reading The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. We'll see you then. Thanks. Bye.